and welcome once again to Wellness Essentials. This is an educational program where we explore the unique and effective wellness solutions that Young Living products provide. I'm Doug Corrigan, Senior Director of Marketing at Young Living Essential Oils, and today it's my privilege to be joined by Dr. David Hill, an internationally renowned wellness expert and educator who specializes in helping others achieve optimal wellness by integrating diet, lifestyle, and natural therapies. He was personally mentored into this field by Young Living founder Gary Young, specifically in the use of therapeutic-grade essential oils, and he directed activities at the Young Life Research Clinic for many years. He has a tremendous reservoir of practical experience and holistic wisdom, and I thank you, Dr. Hill, for taking the time from your world travels to join us here today.
Thanks, Doug. It's good to be here.
Dr. Hill, you and I were recently discussing what has become our favorite topic, and I'm talking about Young Living products and all the fantastic things we've seen these products do and people experience while using them. Some of the things, of course, we've experienced ourselves. And now I know you have long experience with essential oils and their applications, but when we talked the other day, we talked about how impressed you've been with the results you're seeing with some of the core nutritional products that Young Living offers.
I did, Doug. I think I'm like everybody else. When I came to Young Living, I was drawn by the essential oils themselves and all the power and benefits that they, of course, bring. But I think it's also important to point out that there's, beyond the essential oils, when we start talking about the total foundation of your health, not just one particular thing, but the total foundation that is built on several different factors. Essential oils, I would never be one to say that it doesn't play a critical role. It does. We've all seen it. We've experienced it. And yet there's this other side, and it deals with core nutrition. It deals with the understanding that you must build a foundation for your body to draw upon if you're adequately going to maintain your health or if you're going to overcome particular health challenges that you're experiencing.
So, Dr. Hill, you're talking about nutrition. Give us a little bit more information there. What exactly do you mean?
So what we're really talking about, Doug, then, is the lack of nutrition that's not found just in America. I mean, sadly, this is now a concept that is spreading throughout all of the world. Many nations, many countries are now adopting our lifestyle when it comes to nutrition. And if we're going to really change the outcome of our health, this is the fundamental thing I think we most need to change. Understanding what good nutrition is versus what the common nutrition is or the everyday nutrition most of us believe that we're taking and being exposed to.
Yeah, that's a great point. It really has become a global epidemic.
It has.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is really why Young Living has felt for the past 10 years that an important part of their message has been nutrition.
Well, that's why I've been so excited about that message, because for all the benefits that we see with our products, I love the idea that we're honing into the fact that essential oils are a part of our nutritional products, which make them even more powerful and beneficial than some of the competitors that are out there or other products that you might take. That's why I'm so excited about it, because I understand that if you can approach that aspect of your health with lifestyle, with proper nutrition, miraculous things are possible.
You mentioned something really interesting, and one of the fascinating things that I've found here coming to Young Living is essential oils and their role in nutrition. But the reason that I came to Young Living really was because of one product, and really one interesting superfood, the Ningxia wolfberry. And of course, we're going to talk about Ningxia Red. Now, this is the flagship among Young Living's nutritional offering. Ningxia Red is really the heartbeat of the core nutritional package or the core nutritional concept that Young Living offers. Initially, when I heard about Ningxia Red, and I heard about how Gary Young was introduced to this product back in 1993, and the subsequent story about his visit to China and how he was researching the legendary longevity effects of those who consume wolfberries on a regular basis, I was very intrigued by the possibilities that this might have for our aging baby boomer population. But I also thought about all those people out there who are looking to add more years to their life and more life to their years, as that old saying goes. But I have to tell you, I was a little bit skeptical for a couple of reasons. First, was the story backed up by real science? And second, if the wolfberry was so great and is packed with nutrition and promise as was reported, was Young Living actually putting enough wolfberries in their product to make a difference? Or was it just another one of those thinly disguised pretender juices loaded with apple, grape, pear? I mean, you've seen those, right, Dr.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the market is flooded with those kinds of nutritionals that exist. And I don't know that nutritionals is even the right way to put them or to categorize them. But this is really interesting. You said that the baby boomers are now really coming of age. This is our next aging population. And I think with that comes some opportunity, because there are a lot of nutritional products in the marketplace, all geared at the same thing. How do we take this aging population and how do we capitalize on that in a good way? I mean, this is one of the things I love about Young Living too, is that morals, ethics, standards plays a role in this whole process. And for us, it's not about having an opportunity to approach a segment of the market as much as it is to supply a product that indeed has efficacy. And when you start talking about nutritional, there is a lot of amazing stories that are shared that people talk about all the time. The thing that I have loved about Ningxia Red, and Doug, you've been with me as I've traveled the country and we've had opportunity to speak about Ningxia Red. One of the things that I have loved most about that is that the stories are true. People share with us all the time the amazing results that they have by utilizing the Ningxia Red. Ningxia Red is one of those core, foundational, basic things that I believe somebody should do every single day as a part of being healthy and a part of being well. As people do that, something miraculous happens. Look at heart disease. There's a lot of talk about CoQ10 and other different things that can protect the heart. And yet, looking at the science of the Ningxia wolfberry, you can take the Ningxia wolfberry and it has significantly greater effects at not only preserving or protecting the heart, but also at lowering cholesterol. We could talk about lutein, which there's a whole plethora of lutein substances that are on the market for eye health. We can also talk about zeaxanthin and some other things with Ningxia Red. The science is there, and I think Young Living has done the right thing with the science. Gary Young, who I always refer to, and I do look at him as a mentor, has done an amazing thing. He's traveled the world, quite literally, Doug, as you are aware. And he always does the same thing. He looks at the populations of the people that are there. He tries to understand their culture, but more importantly, he tries to understand why they're healthy and why they're sick. The Ningxia province, the Ningxia wolfberry, is so powerful, and why I love Young Living so much is they took the science, all the data that comes in behind the nutrients, all the flavonoids, all the carotenoids, all the antioxidant protection, all the wonderful things we traditionally speak of when we refer to Ningxia Red. But they took that science and they put it with a whole food, not just any whole food. And I love the fact we refer to this as a superfood because it indeed is. They took that and combined it with a specific wolfberry, the Ningxia wolfberry out of the Ningxia province. And in my mind, that's significant. That's Young Living combining the best of both worlds. Yes, we have the science, but we also have the nutrient density within those nutrients.
Now, Dr. Hill, you mentioned the Ningxia wolfberry, which I understand is the premium wolfberry. Now, it's a special preparation of that wolfberry, though. Is that not right in Ningxia Red?
Yes, that's true. Young Living is always evolving. I love the idea that as we develop products with Young Living, as we go through this process, things are always evolving. And you look at Ningxia Red for what it is now versus what it was when it was conceptualized. Initially, you still had a fabulous product. But one of the things that we've done now is that we're using the whole fruit. I think that if you look at the Ningxia wolfberry, all of the qualities that it possesses, all of the benefits that it can bring to you and I, it's important that we use the whole fruit, that we use every bit of it. And that's what we've done. We also use, you mentioned a little bit earlier, are we using enough wolfberry? Do we have enough in that product to have it be bioactive, to make it available to the body? Doug, what's equally important is what we do with the whole fruit once we obtain it. It's going to be pureed, and this is the part that I love. 50% of Ningxia Red is that whole fruit. There's a substantial amount then that goes into every single bottle. And that means that for you and I, we're going to gain access to that in the body very quickly, efficiently, and in the proper amounts.
Well, I love it too. I mean, you just have to, you take the wrapper off. If you've ever taken a wrapper off of Ningxia Red, a brand new bottle, you set it there, and a good quarter of that bottle is just sediment. You know, and that's a big deal. That means you've got not just the juice, but a whole bunch of other good nutrients.
Yeah, I think I would want people to understand that, because that's actually a pretty common question. Is there something wrong with my bottle? No, this is a superfood. And the density of that material that's in that bottle, I think, speaks to the things that we've been talking about. A good way to compare that, or a good way to understand that, is to look at its antioxidant activity, why we would want to have that density. You can look, for example, at superoxide dismutase, which is a real good marker for how effective that is going to be as an antioxidant in your body. The reason why superoxide dismutase is because this is the primary method we have for combating superoxide, that most damaging free radical in the body. Ningxia Red is substantially more effective than any other product in the marketplace at that, and it's because of that density, Doug. That's a good thing. The fact that you have to shake that bottle up, that's a good thing. Doug, I believe that sediment is so important from a whole food perspective, from a nutritional perspective. I think this is the reason why we have great bioactivity within the body, why it's so easily accessible, why it produces the benefits it does. Even looking at antioxidant activity, its levels of superoxide dismutase.
Superoxide dismutase. Now that's a big word, and that might be new to a lot of people listening to this. So help us understand why that's such a big deal.
Let me just break it down really easy for people. And it's this. If you have uncontrolled free radicals in your body, you're going to have poor health. The way that we combat that is through antioxidants. We've already determined that most of us don't have an adequate amount of nutrition. It's our diet, it's the environment, all those things that are discussed quite often, and I think in great detail. This is why we see people who have arthritis. This is why we see people who have other forms of degenerative disease, cancer, Alzheimer's disease. All of these things and many others have been linked now directly to this damage that's caused in the body. Putting it very simply, the best thing you and I can do on a daily basis is stop the damage. And the way we do that is by elevating this enzyme. And the way we do that is by drinking Ningxia Red every single day. And the reason why is for all the things that we've already discussed. This is dense nutrition. This is bioactive in the body, which stops the damage.
So Dr. Hill, now this sounds very exciting. And of course, all of us really want to prevent all those things that you mentioned. Now, how do we know how Ningxia Red ranks in regards to the competitors, other drinks out there?
Doug, let's go back to the science for a minute. I mean, this is an important point. How do we test the efficacy? How do we really know that a product does what it says it's going to do? This is so important that a group of researchers have developed a test. It's called the S-ORAC test. And this is a test that's used to determine the ability of a product or a substance to neutralize this most devastating free radical, superoxide. And Young Living consistently tests higher than any other product in the marketplace.
You bring up a great point, Dr. Hill, because we've attached a PDF sheet to this disc for everybody to review the most recent results so they can get firsthand information about how the competitors and other people might stack up in regards to this vital SOD activity. Now, that's all fine and good. This works great in a laboratory, but how does that translate to us? Does that stuff get into our blood and work?
Well, I mean, that's the key question, and I'm going to refer to a couple of different things. Many people in our listening audience have probably seen our live cell analysis that we have done with Ningxia Red, and we've even compared that to a lot of the other products in the marketplace. The thing that's most impressive about that to me is that we demonstrate not only does it get into the blood, but it creates the activity that we want. There is visual, substantial results that take place. But it goes beyond that too, Doug. I mean, we can look at some of the science. We can talk about how Ningxia Red, superoxide dismutase, and the fact that it is so effective that way, it helps to lower cholesterol levels within the body. Those are things that have been studied quite extensively, and we find that to be true. So yes, creates activity within the body. We know it improves eye health. We know it's protective of the heart. We know it's protective of fatty tissues within the body because of that antioxidant structure. And these are things, once again, that we can show through testing, through physiological testing, but also people experience the difference. They themselves sense and know that there's something different that is happening. Doug, the real question then is, does Ningxia Red actually do what it's supposed to do? Does it increase superoxide dismutase in the body? If it was really functional, we would see that those levels would increase. We could test that. We could measure that. Not just what the S-ORAC says, but what happens within the body, and that is indeed the case. In fact, I'm familiar with a study where individuals ate just 50 grams of wolfberries, which you know is a very small amount. They did that for a period of 10 days. Two significant things happened. One is they increased the levels of superoxide dismutase, that powerful enzyme in their body, by nearly 50% in just 10 days. Doug, the other thing that was really interesting is not only did the levels of superoxide dismutase increase, but we had a reduction of lipid peroxide that decreased in those same individuals by nearly 65%.
Now, we're going back to the science again here a little bit, but lipids,
I'm sorry, Doug.
Lipids meaning fat, right? So this superoxide dismutase protects your fatty tissues. Now, help us understand why that's important.
Well, protecting fatty tissues is no different than anywhere else in the body. We're talking about brain, we're talking about your eyes, we're talking about liver, and many other significant areas within your body that if we fail to protect them at the cellular level, it means for you and I simply poor health. And by having a reduction in that lipid peroxide, which is a fancy way of saying free radical damage to fatty tissues, we've improved the outcome of our health by virtually doing nothing other than just using this product.
So this seems like it would be really important for supporting the circulatory and the cardiovascular systems.
Yeah. Doug, I believe this is really a big misconception, especially when we start talking about cardiovascular health. I mean, there's a lot of press that's out there. There's even been a lot of research that's been done that says the types of fats that you eat are so critical. I believe that, especially from a core nutritive standpoint. But in this case, it's a little different, especially with cardiac health. It's not so much the types of fats as much as the damage that occurs to those fats once they enter into the body. In fact, there's another study I'm familiar with out of the New England Journal of Medicine. And within that study, they talked about these damaging fats and the role that they play. And the result is that if we can control or stop free radical damage to those fats, we can stop the damage that occurs with heart disease and other processes.
Dr. Hill, you're right. That is a big misconception. A lot of people are out there trying to prevent obesity and heart disease. They're cutting out fats and cholesterol in their diet, but what they really need to do is protect their fats. Eat more fruits and vegetables, and beyond that, perhaps eat more superfoods like the Ningxia wolfberry.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think people need to change their diet. That's understood at this point because we have such poor nutrition associated with the quality of foods that, or lack of quality would be a better way to say it, of the foods we're now getting, Doug. So yes, eat more fruits and vegetables. But it's more than that. If you look at the content of what occurs within that food, we don't have the same types of foods, even if you're trying to eat healthy. And this is why I believe daily supplementation becomes so important, and in particular with a superfood like the wolfberry. Here you've got dense nutrition. We've got carotenoids, we have flavonoids, we have all of the antioxidant activity that we've talked about. What all of that means is that the gap that exists right now with the foods that you're eating, you can fill that void with Ningxia Red. It will bridge the gap and give you the nutrition that you need to drive your health.
So how much Ningxia Red should we be drinking, in your opinion?
Well, this is a question that everybody always asks. I talk to people who it seems like they drink it by the gallons. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know that that's necessary. And let me tell you why. It's because of that density once again. And we've given lots of illustrations on why that's so important and powerful. The average that I would recommend for most people, Doug, is from 2 to 4 ounces a day. I think that's going to be sufficient. Me personally, I like to take a little bit in the morning, and I'm also going to take some in the afternoon because I like the energy boost that it brings to me. But I also like all of the nutrition that it brings. You can talk about how your body functions, and we've talked a lot about cells, and we've talked a lot about different studies and things that have been done. But there's some core elements to cellular health and cellular functioning. You can look, we've talked about flavonoids and all the nutritional components. We haven't talked about essential sugars, Doug. And essential sugars are important for having those cells function the way that they want to, and it's found within Ningxia Red. So yet another reason why I say it's a daily nutritional.
So essential sugars, superoxide dismutase, antioxidants like carotenoids, and all those important things. Now, this is really going to go a long ways to reversing that gap that you talked about.
Correct.
And help us get back on the right track. I like what you talked about, 2 to 4 ounces on a routine basis. I've heard people often say, too, up front, maybe you take between 3 to 6 ounces just to get your body started. This is going to help us a lot, you know, especially when you consider where most of us are getting our antioxidants from.
That is true, Doug. And I think the thing to remember also is that there is no wrong way to take Ningxia Red. That's just a good point for people to understand. But most of us are not getting our nutrition in the way that we believe. For example, most Americans drink coffee. And most Americans have been told, boy, that's a great source of antioxidants. They don't tell you all the damaging effects that comes from doing that. You look at the average American drinks 53 gallons of soda every single year. Again, more damage coming into the body. Why not replace some of those bad things? I say this to people all the time, Doug. When it comes to your health, it's about doing the best thing. It's about doing the greatest things. So you can look at coffee. Does coffee have antioxidant protection? Of course it does. But it also has lots of other damaging effects. And we could say that about any number of different foods. Doing the best thing, doing the greatest thing, would be to replace some of those with something that does no harm. Why not take an antioxidant that gives me all of the benefit I want with none of the damaging side effects? Do that each day. Replace one of those harmful substances each day with something that's valuable.
Well, that's a big deal, especially when you think about, well, what does the average cup of coffee cost in America? I mean, I always make the joke, and like Jerry Seinfeld says, they shouldn't call it Starbucks, they should call it $4. I mean, that place is expensive, and why not spend some of those dollars on something that's going to be absolutely good for you?
And I think that's the bottom line. You need to find an avenue. You need to find a way that you can subsidize your health without creating additional side effects. Doug, I like what you said. Why not replace the bad things with something good? Case in point would be diabetes. I talk to people all the time who say, Dr. Hill, I can't use Ningxia Red, I'm a diabetic, and my physician tells me I can't have the sugars. And yet I know that Ningxia Red as a product has an extremely low glycemic index, a glycemic index of 11. Doug, that's one of the lowest foods that I'm aware of in terms of its sugar content. But more importantly, the benefit that it brings to even people with diabetes is overwhelming. I spoke with somebody not too many months ago who the only thing they did was Ningxia Red, and they were off of all of their diabetic medications. I think that speaks to what happens when you bring that good whole nutrition into the body, and the body can begin to function like it was designed to.
Well, that's awesome, because what you mentioned right there is so important to me too. I love Ningxia Red because I can drink it even between 3 and 6 ounces, and I don't get that jittery energy that a lot of people get when they consume a lot of sugar, and that's probably because of what you're talking about. The glycemic index is low, so it's a good even burn, a nice increase, and I think that's important for a lot of people.
Doug, I saw a study not too long ago that talked about if we could just control the way our body absorbs that sugar, if we could have foods that didn't spike our sugar levels, like something on a high glycemic index. And I bring this up because this is what I find with most other products. They have a lot of junk juices or other things in them. And what it does, what it means to you and I, is that we instantly spike our blood sugar. And when that happens, we create inflammation in the body, and then we create damage, and everybody becomes familiar with that whole cascade. The problem is that we spike our sugar all of the time. And that's why I love Ningxia Red. I can bring in that nutrition without spiking my blood sugar, get the good whole sugars that I do need, and then also all the other nutrients.
Now, you mentioned these essential sugars. I was reading something the other day that talked about how these essential sugars could also help you with immunity, supporting the immune system.
Doug, on the surface of every cell, you're going to drive me back to the science again, but this is a good way to help people understand. Your body functions at the cellular level. And on the surface of that cell, you have proteins and you have sugars. Your immune response is largely driven by the combination of those two together. It's called a glycoprotein. It's those essential sugars, Doug, and we have to have them. The problem is that we don't have them in our diet, so you have to be able to supplement them from other ways. Again, why Ningxia Red is so powerful. We're back down to the surface of the cell again at the cellular level, providing the sugars that the cell needs to complete its sequencing for immune responses in the body, which equates to, put it very simply, you and I become healthier. Our immune system functions better because we have all of the elements it needs to do so.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, Dr. Hill, because I know that when I feel something coming on, a little scratchy throat or whatever it is, the sniffles, and I double or triple up my dose of Ningxia Red, more often than not, I'm okay. I can feel the immunity boost, and I just feel a lot better, and that thing never really sets in.
Doug, that's a great way to describe the effects of the essential sugars in the body. They help to modulate immune function within the body, or increase the immune function within the body. In fact, a recent study that was done with Ningxia Red shows that just drinking Ningxia Red increases that immune function by as much as 81%.
Yeah, that's not surprising to me. As much as we've talked about Ningxia wolfberries, and as great as they are, that isn't the only thing at work here in Ningxia Red. I've looked at a lot of those functional drinks out there. It's not a day goes by that somebody else doesn't seem like they talk to me about the next greatest drink. But the first thing I do when I get one of these drinks, Dr. Hills, is I pick them up and I look at the back, and I look for the junk juices that we've talked about, the apple, the grape juice, the pear juice. I was shocked when I first discovered Ningxia Red, and I turned it around, and instead of all those bad juices, I was shocked when I found pomegranate juice and blueberry juice and raspberry juice, some of these other things. These are some of the most nutrient-dense and scientifically proven juices around.
Doug, we could speak about a lot of different things at this point. We could talk about pomegranates and blueberries. We could talk about ellagic acid. We can talk about heart health. We can talk about all the nutrition that comes from eating fresh, whole, raw foods, fruits and vegetables. I love Young Living. I love Ningxia Red, and one of the reasons why is because we made the commitment, Doug, not to put the junk juices in there. I've known this about Gary for a long period of time. I've seen this standard maintained in Young Living with all of its products, that if it doesn't bring efficacy, we're not going to put it in the product. We don't want to have it in there. It has to promote your health or build your health, or we don't want to have a part of it. We do nothing by jolting the body with a bunch of sugary juices. In fact, you do more damage than you ever do good. But what I love about this is that when you take the wolfberry and you add it to those other whole type foods, those other nutritious juices that are found, like the pomegranate, like the blueberry, natural whole fruits and vegetables, you have a synergistic effect now that occurs. You're enhancing your health even more. And I think that's one of the reasons that Ningxia Red is so powerful.
Now, we've talked about some of the main things: cardiovascular health. Of course, we're all interested in that. Immunity, that's a really big one. That good, sustained energy. Another one that a lot of people talk about is eye health, and you mentioned that a little bit. Now, what's at work in Ningxia Red that might help us with our eyes?
Doug, to me, that's a significant issue. More and more people are struggling with their eyes. Specifically, we need to protect the eyes. We do that through antioxidant activities, specifically carotenoids, as you are well aware. There's two carotenoids in particular that seem to get all of the attention. One is called lutein, and this is really interesting. The structure of the eye that we want to protect most, in fact, most blindness in this country, occurs because of damage to this structure. It's the macula, and that's the one that we want to protect the most. We look at macular degeneration. We stop it with antioxidant activity. Lutein and zeaxanthin. Traditionally, people believe that lutein is the most powerful of those two. Not necessarily the case, not according to new research. In fact, we found that zeaxanthin is even more powerful, sometimes 2 to 3 times more powerful. It's also the one that we seem to have the least of and the one we need to supplement the most with. Doug, one of the reasons why I love Ningxia Red and why I use it personally is because of the high levels of zeaxanthin. The question on everybody's mind is, can you protect your eyes? Can you stop macular degeneration and other degenerative diseases of the eye? The answer is yes. In fact, a recent study was shown that after just 30 days of taking as little as 15 grams of wolfberry every single day, levels of zeaxanthin, that most protective carotenoid, increased by 100%.
That's amazing. 100% in just a little amount of time. So now I'm doing great things for my eyes by increasing my levels of zeaxanthin when I'm taking wolfberries. Ningxia Red sounds like it has all kinds of things going for it. One of the things that we haven't even discussed is the fact that it's infused with essential oils. Now, that's something that nobody else has in their drink.
Yeah, Doug, if we did nothing else to this product, but just infuse it with the oils, you have a superior product, far and above anything else that's out there. But the fact that we infuse it with the oils can only mean one thing. It means we're enhancing all of the effects that we talked about. The oils that are associated with this product, lemon and orange oil, we could now have lengthy discussions about limonene and glutathione, again, antioxidant protection within the body, but also brings other benefits that enhances the overall effect of the Ningxia Red. I love the essential oils, and I love the fact that Young Living has made a commitment to put them in all of their products for that reason.
Well, it's not surprising to hear about all the great things that are in Ningxia Red because, like you said, we consistently hear story after story, testimonial after testimonial, people getting terrific results. I think this has really been a good reminder for me that sometimes you forget as you go through the day-to-day. But what we have with Ningxia Red is really a tremendous, well, I would almost call it a responsibility to share that product with others.
I think that's right, Doug. And something interesting happened to me a week or two ago. Somebody came to me and they said, you know, I was drinking the Ningxia Red and I didn't really feel like it was helping me, Dr. Hill. And that really caught me off guard. As I talked with them a little bit further, they said, so I stopped drinking it. And then they said, and then I noticed the difference. I think I'd like to point out to everybody, Doug, that we're talking about incremental benefit. Benefit that becomes sustained over long periods of time because we do it every day. We ought to change our lifestyle. We do need to look at the whole nutrition that we're putting into our bodies. We do need to supplement that and augment those processes with essential oils. But there are things that need to be done every single day. And I encourage people to do that and, more importantly, to share it. Doug, I think you and I have had similar experiences, and I don't think we're unique. I stay with Young Living. I'm involved in Young Living. I love Young Living because of the benefit that I've received. And I appreciate the fact that I've been able to share that with so many people. And I think we each do have an obligation to do that. Why would we want to keep something so great to ourselves?
Yeah, well, I'm reminded of that old quote. Confucius said, "He who has secured the good of others has already secured his own." And I think that's really applicable right here. And I just want to remind everyone out there to get more information about this product and the other terrific Young Living products. Talk to the person who gave you this CD. And until then, this is Doug Corrigan for Dr. David Hill and all of us here at Young Living wishing you Godspeed in your quest for health.